What's up, weebs, and welcome to the channel. My name is Naughty Bits, and as always, I hope you enjoy these videos. If you do, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube BS, and let's get right into the video. So, after many years, I recently picked up reading manga again, and much to my enjoyment, I have finished a few that I wish kept going, and I've recently read some more that are still ongoing and some that are finished. I've kind of been bouncing around a bunch of titles. But out of the six or seven that I'm currently reading, one has always stuck out above the rest so far. And it's got a simple title, kind of like a light novelish style title called The Warrior Princess and the Barbaric King. It's a high fantasy action romance manga that focuses on two characters from two different nations. One being Sira, who is a holy knight of the land of Illidan, far to the west, and the other being a barbaric prince by the name of Vior, who lives in a land far to the east. When our manga starts, it starts out with Sira being locked inside a dungeon, wearing tattered clothing, some shackles along her neck, arms, and legs. Uh, at first confused and oddly, concerned as one would be, obviously, not oddly, is what I meant to say there. Sorry about that. About her current situation, trying to recall how it all happened and, what led her to where she is right now. After recalling the memory of the previous events of the day before, she remembers being in the middle of combat deep within enemy territory, far from her homeland, stuck within the east, the land of the barbarians. And as one is normally found deep within enemy territory, they were outnumbered and outgunned, and probably most likely ill prepared for what they were getting themselves into. As the combat ensues, more and more of the knights are being slaughtered, and as Sierra's rightfully planned to do, she wanted to make a tactical retreat and withdraw her soldiers and possibly make it out of this battlefield alive as well as her comrades. But the barbarians weren't having any of it. They were decimating people, and through the midst of this combat, Sierra decides, you know what, I'm going to try and end this as quickly as possible and attack the general of the barbarians, or what she thinks would be a general anyway. And unfortunately, even though she is very skilled with a sword and a shield, ultimately is defeated by our second main character, Vior. And immediately, as a knight normally does, uh, concedes after being defeated and offers their opponent to let them take their life and give them a honorable warrior's death. He refuses, chuckling in response with, "No, I think I'll take you as my prize." And this is where the romance element of the story starts to begin. And we see that Sira is quickly thrown into this new land that is the home of the barbarians far to the east of where she is from. And as one would be in, being a quote unquote prisoner of war to barbarians, you instantly start getting some dark thoughts and thinking of being tortured, interrogated for information, or darker things such as the R word, or just downright being killed. And she even confesses and downright shouts to both Cersei, who is a prominent side character in the story, and also is the handmaiden of Vior, who is tasked with giving Sira a sponge bath, which is where the mangaka of this particular story, when I say pushes the line to almost like dojin levels of like nudity and display and like the ecchi moments, it's like paper thin of a line of the border between just straight up being a dojin manga, or being a regular manga. But it's all done tastefully. It's not. It's done in a humorous way, yes, and and slightly uncomfortable way. At least through this first moment with seeing Sierra being sponge bathed by another chick, forcefully at that. Um, but then the story gets immediately flipped on its head and starts becoming lighthearted as Vior and Sierra encounter each other again for the second time. This time without the clashing and clanging of swords and shields and metal and horror and screaming along a battlefield. It's now in this dungeon, um, and they actually see one another eye to eye, face to face. And at first, Sierra is kind of blown away by the way he looks. He's kind of handsome, and but she immediately goes reserves herself and stands firm, shouting the same things that she did to Cersei, that no matter what form of torture, interrogation, whether it be boiling, being cut, burned, stabbed, whatever have you of means of pain, they can dish out to her. She is not willing to give up. She will gladly die before betraying her homeland. And Vior, being the very odd and interesting character that he is, his responses and his mannerisms to the way he treats Sierra are both straightforward and like cutting the BS, so to speak, but it's also super like lighthearted and genuine. You can the way the story is written, it's almost as though it's the a mangaka's the mangaka, sorry, his like it almost reminds me of like a player character's backstory for a D&D campaign that's like well thought out and like a DM's dream style of character backstory. But there's also so many other things that are like awesome about the story. I mean, just the land, the homeland that Vior is from, it's gorgeous. Whether it be the magnificent waterfall that Sierra sees for the first time, never seeing one before, or just seeing the open flora and fauna and forest and vegetation that is far, far from what she grew up with. See, the land of the West is described. It hasn't been shown, at least as far in the manga that I've read, what it actually looks like. But it's a desolate, almost like Saharan desert style of terrain and climate. Whereas the land of the East is more of like what you would find in like the Amazon or the Brazilian forest, something along those lines. Thick, dense, heavy forestation filled with many, many vast fantasy creatures, whether it be dragons, giant, massive turtles, oozes that can control your mind and devour your flesh. A lot of crazy, weird, fanciful stories, creatures are thrown into this, and it's blended perfectly. Um, but the other thing that, when it comes in terms of the romance, that got me is seeing Sierra learn more and more about her captor's culture and why he chose to do what he did, and how they live, and what she was taught as a child, mostly being propaganda and just nonsense. It's it has so many moments where, as a reader, at least for myself, that I felt the same way that Sierra was showing on the page with her face. The art just has some of those moments where it's like you could. It's almost like looking at a photograph. Like you can in your head without even looking at these images. Once you've read them and seen them, that you won't forget. So if this kind of story interests you, and this is just the first volume I'm kind of mentioning, guys, there's so much more that happens past that. So if you like this kind of stuff, please pick it up. Again, it's called The Warrior Princess and the Barbaric King. It's written by Noriaki Kotoba. I have not been able to find any physical copies. I've been reading it digitally myself. But if you can find one, please pick one up. My name is Naughty Bits. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, peace.